Welcome everyone. Today we are looking at the Rad-Hack as part of our reviews of old school role-playing games. The Rad-Hack is a hack of the Black Hack. There it is right there. I've done a review of this in the past. You can check it out right up here if you want to see it. The Black Hack is a slimming down, a distillation of a lot of old school rules into a simple roll under system. And the Rad-Hack takes that same basic system and converts it into a post-apocalyptic Fallout-like genre. It's a great little system. It's built on some very solid bones, and it adds a lot of great little twists that make the game a lot more fun, I think. So let's take a look at what we have inside. So this is written and illustrated all by the same guy, Carl Stjernberg. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. And having it all be illustrated by the same guy gives it a great unified art direction. So it has a great feel to it. The Black Hack was not illustrated, but this is. So that's a great example of what I'm talking about. We have a mutant chicken riding a T-Rex. So if that doesn't sell you on the game, I don't know what will. The rules are similar to the Black Hack if you've played that before. Same basic core mechanic. You're rolling a d20 under your results, or under your abilities to get things done. You have your advantage and disadvantage just like in 5th edition D&D. And you have 4 classes, but they're different than what you'd see in most fantasy games. You have humans, mutants, robots, and psionics. And right when you get to the rolling stats here, you see that the flavor of those 4 classes is brought directly into how you roll their stats, which I thought was very clever. For example, humans works pretty similar to what we see in the Black Hack. Roll 46 and drop the lowest until you get a high roll, and then you move down to lower dice. Mutants roll a d20 straight for every stat, rerolling 1s and 20s. So mutants are going to be crazy and all over the place, very low or very high, which makes sense for mutants. Robots don't roll, but instead get their attribute stats with a point-buy system, which is just wonderful. You feel like a robot, right? You're designing your guy, you're picking what they're good at. Psionics roll 2d6 plus 2 for strength, dex, and con, and 46 dropping the lowest for int, whiz, and cha. So they're going to have high mental abilities and low physical abilities. All right, so let's look at some of our classes here. We have a human. This lady is wearing a Pikachu helmet with a bloody axe. So what goes on with humans? Humans, their big thing is that they have a profession. So it's like a class, I suppose. And if what you're doing matches your profession, you gain advantage on your dice. They also have advantage on charisma in human-dominated places, and they can attempt to control robots. Robots tend to do what their human masters tell them. We have mutants. Mutants, their big thing is they have mutations. There's a big long list later on in the book that we'll look at, where we see a list of mutations that are possible. And mutants have an ability die. So let me talk about that for a second. The Black Hack has a usage die, which is a die that you use for anything that can be used up over time. So instead of tracking that thing step by step, what you do is whenever you use that thing, you roll the die to see if the amount that you have decreases. And if it does, you move down to a lower sized die. So you have a D8 maybe, and if you roll a 1 or a 2, it shifts down to become a D6, and then down to a D4, and then it might be used up. So this expands that ability and or that mechanic and uses it for lots of different things. So it uses it for our abilities, how good they are at doing things. It uses it for radiation. It uses it for ammo. It expands it dramatically. It makes it more of a core mechanic. So we can use your mutations. We'll take a look at those later. They are adaptive. They can swap their abilities around when they level up. And they're more resistant to radiation. Of course they are. Robots. So robots, their big deal is modules. So a theme that you'll see here is that humans are fairly vanilla, but that your mutants, robots, and psionics each have their own sets of abilities that can be swapped in and out to customize them. And modules are what we have for robots. You can customize them with all sorts of add-ons and mechanical additions that give them their own flavor. And the abilities like mutations, modules, and as we'll see, psionic abilities, they all work pretty much the same way. Mechanical, so they're immune to all poisons and radiation. They have built-in armor. And of course, when they heal, they take scrap to heal themselves. Psionics. Psionics have psionic powers. They have mental fortitude, so they're harder to brainwash. And they can see slightly into the future, which allows them to reroll one roll per session with advantage. So here's the lists of special things that each class has. Professions for humans, right, with some equipment that comes with them. Mutations for mutants, and they're all very flavorful and interesting. Exoskeleton, adrenal glands, magnetism, extendable claws. Yeah, you can be Wolverine if you want to be. And they're all on D20 tables. So a lot of these are randomized, which create very versatile and unexpected PCs, which is always fun. Modules for robots, things like jet boosters, loudspeakers, drone bays, energy shields, and psionic effects for psychics. Each has very simple instructions for what they do. This whole series of versions of the Black-Hack are all based around having very easy to interpret rules. So there's not a lot of detail. You don't have like these big paragraphs of text telling you exactly how one thing will work in every situation. But instead, things are left open to the GM and to the players to resolve in a common sense way, which personally is my preference for how to do things. So we have an explanation for how the usage die works. Armor works just like in the Black-Hack. It absorbs damage until it's reached its maximum absorption, and then it just stops working until you rest. Some basic weapons. Damage is done by class, not by weapon. So there aren't damage values for each weapon. We have heavy weapons, which can cause exploding damage, meaning if you roll maximum damage, then you can roll again. Rules for fully automatic fire, for things like machine guns. Equipment quality and degradation. So this really takes us into a post-apocalyptic feeling world where when you roll very high using certain weapons, you can roll to see if they break or if they degrade. Because weapons have a quality die, which works the same way as a usage die. Attacking and defending works like you would expect. Critical damage. We have an out of action table, just like in the Black-Hack. Experience. We have drugs and addiction. So here's a new thing for the Rad-Hack. And a lot of these feel a lot like Fallout drugs that you can get. So if you enjoy the Fallout games, I think this would be a nice, fast, simple way that you could emulate it. We have rules for radiation. All of the classes have a radiation die, basically explaining how resistant to radiation they are. And when you get close to an actual radiation source, you have to roll your radiation die. And every time it decreases and gets closer and closer to zero, worse and worse things can happen. As it decreases, your con and max hit points go down. And when you get down to a D4 and then you roll a 1 or a 2, meaning that it should decrease another level, instead of going down to 0, you roll on this table, which could kill you, or it could do other things like give you mutations. Some poisons, rules for controlling robots, how to do random encounters, creature reactions, which are essential for old school games, how to do technology and understanding tech. You have to make intelligence checks to see if you know how to use things. And we have some crazy tech that you can get. Examples. And I love the attitude that the book takes, which is that the high-tech stuff that you dig up should be special and should be unique. A bit like magic items from D&D. But it's not about increasing individual stats. It's about giving unique abilities that players have to be creative with if they want to be successful. Vehicles and driving, if you want to play a Mad Max style game. And we have quite a few monsters, each of which has distinct actions and special abilities, which really lets the GM know how to run them and make the encounter interesting. We have a wonderful little hex crawl built in here that you can use. Not a ton of information, but it's enough to jumpstart a campaign. And finally, what game would be complete without character sheets? And I love the hand-drawn quality of this character sheet. Reminds me a little bit of the one I did for Maze Rats, where you can feel the flavor and the character and the world building that this guy has put into his game. And that's what your typical character should look like if you're playing this in the right spirit. So that is the Rad-Hack. If you like the Black Hack, you'll like this game. It's the same basic system, but expanded and modified to fit a Fallout-like world. It is only $6.66, and that's whether it's in print or in PDF. So given that, I would definitely get the print version. It's nice and tidy, easy to carry around, and if your friends are into video games like Fallout, this would be a great way to introduce them to RPGs. That's it for my review today. This video was, as always, sponsored by my awesome supporters on Patreon. If you'd like to support me on Patreon, you can check it out right over here. You can also subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see more videos like this. And I'll see you later. Thanks for watching.